Satang Prasanga. Talks between devotees.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and welcome to today's session. I pray that all is well with you and your families and that you are managing during this difficult time of the lockdown. So today is the 7th sutra in our sessions in gaining empowerment during negative times. So let's read the 7th sutra together. It says here, this type of acceptance and surrender means choosing to hold out for His solutions, His results, His direction, and His timing, regardless of how long or what direction that takes. Wow, today is really a face the wall situation. Thus far, we've been talking about surrendering and understanding negativity and trying to become strong, but it's mainly been theoretical. Today is the real level of acceptance, that you have to come to the point of acceptance, which is vital for our growth. We see that in our worship of Krishna, we're doing it more out of necessity because He is God. We found out now by philosophy that He is God. Now we need to build the relationship to make it real. So we're worshipping out of necessity, not out of love. We're coming to the point of love, this sambandha gyan, this relationship, but right now it's out of necessity. And we see that in material nature, working under Krishna's direction, maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam, is working under His direction, is very benign. It's very giving, material nature. She first gives you something, then she takes it away. Nothing is taken away from anyone if it was never given. Otherwise, what you lost? You didn't lose anything. The fact that you lost something means it was first given to you. So this isn't Krishna. He first gives. Even though we don't know Him yet, but as material nature, as the laws of nature that run the universe, He first gives. Very benign person. As we progressing in our Krishna consciousness, we get to experience Krishna at different levels, especially as time. It's very difficult to, when we construct time, and in our time is earthly time, as we were saying, which is measured in solar years, but Krishna's time is cosmic time. And when He's trying to orchestrate something, He's trying to fit everything together. He's not trying, He is fitting everything together. Therefore, sometimes our minute, infinitesimal level of time needs to be right in order to fit in. Prabhupada was asked by his young disciples. Prabhupada was like in his 70s and they like in their 20s. So they asked him, Swamiji, why you took so long to come to us here in America, So Prabhupada turned around and with his sarcastic smile, he says, because you were not born yet. Because you were not born yet. So that time factor didn't synchronize at that time. But when Prabhupada was 70, it's synchronized. And then what he did what he could have done from a younger age, he did in 12 years. So when the time is right, so leave that time in Krishna's hands. We see even Prabhupada is the best example of one who went through difficulty. In the Bowery, his typewriter was stolen. They broke into his apartment. Actually, just yesterday, I was watching that video on Srila Prabhupada's life. So his typewriter was stolen, and he didn't know what to do, because all that he put into his work was all distraught now. Typewriter was gone. He had nothing to work with. And then it was really touching when he's alone in a foreign land, and he's praying to Krishna that you must have some reason why you brought me here. And then he goes to the Boston harbor and he finds out when's the next ship going back to America, to India. And he inquires, and you can see what's happening within him. Within him there's a struggle. Should I go back home, or should I be here and continue? So he's struggling with the whole idea of time and why it's not working out according to his way. And in that struggle, he comes back, and then he reconciles that this must be Krishna's arrangement. Otherwise, why would he bring me here as an old man, as a devotee? Why would he bring me here? So we see in today's verse, we hear about the same idea in today's sutra. Let's read through it. It says here, this type of acceptance and surrender means choosing to hold out for his solutions. What is Krishna's solution in this? I have my solution, and I'm adamant that it is the right solution. But what is Krishna's solution? So holding out for his solutions, his results. What is Krishna's results? And his direction. In which way does Krishna want this issue to go, this problem to go, this situation to go? So holding out, having the grit, as they say, to hold out when times are difficult like that. Resilience, to be resilient and holding out. This is a very great quality of the great Vaishnava devotees, that they stick to Krishna's feet no matter what. Krishna eka sharanam. And his timings, when is his timing right? Just like the Kurukshetra war could have happened at any time, but it needed the build-up of all those events, and then when Krishna was ready, then it happened. Regardless of how long or what direction that takes, how long is this going to take? Is it an inevitable thing? From my perspective, yes, because I only have 100 years in which to deal with life. So, but leave it up to Krishna. Leave it up to him. Do your best and leave it up to him. The beautiful principle of Tatenu Kampam, we spoke about this yesterday. Tatenu Kampam Shashumikshamanu Bunjanevatma Kritam Vipakam Ridvagvabupi Ritadham Namaste Jivedyo Mukti Padasadayabak. That while enduring all these difficulties, this beautiful from 14 chapter 8 verse Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, all the difficulties that you're facing in life, just go through it knowing Krishna is there. And at the end, the kingdom of God will become your rightful place. So we are spiritual beings having a material experience, a human experience. We must remember that, because it's only from that level that acceptance can happen. From a material level, it's very difficult to accept, because we have our own ideas of what is right, what is wrong, what is just, what is unjust. And where we got those ideas from? We learned it from society. But from Krishna's perspective, it's different. So if we relate as spiritual beings, having a human experience, then go through life having an experience, knowingly that as a devotee of Krishna, he is taking care. Matchita sarva durgani, this beautiful, one of my favorite verses from Bhagavad Gita, 1858. Matchita sarva durgani mat prasada tarassusi atachattam mahamkaram na sarassusi vinasyati. So Krishna is saying, mat chitta, become conscious of me, sarva durgani, in all difficulties of life, and mat prasad, see this as my prasad. Prasad is not always what we eat. It's also comes in different forms. We got to be ready for that. Understanding what is prasad, using knowledge. Mat prasada tarasyasi. If you know this as my prasad, then you can tarasyasi, easily glide over. But then he gives a caution. Atachatvam mahamkaram. But by your ahamkar, your false ego, you don't listen. Then na sorosyasi vinasyati. Very strong Sanskrit. You'll be vanquished by the laws of nature. So it really doesn't give us much of a choice. It doesn't. And at the end, when we're Srila Prabhupada, right here in Mayapur actually, before he started ISKCON, he would go to Sriva Sangam, not very far from here actually, within a kilometer from here. And he would pray there, and this Pujari would see him every day. And Abhay Babu, yes. And he would be sitting there and he would be chanting in Sriva Sangam, because Sriva Sangam is the birthplace of the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya. So he would be sitting and chanting there. Why? Because his heart is heavy. He's got the order of the spiritual master to preach in the English language, distribute books. How to do this? Where to start with this? And he's sitting there and praying for mercy from the Panchatattva in Sriva Sangam. And as he's doing that, he would come every day and chant at least 64 rounds there. So the Pujari got familiar with seeing him. And then one day he just disappeared. And then many years later, this Pujari was an old man then. And he saw this old sannyasi, radiant, effulgent sannyasi coming to visit Sriva Sangam. But what was unique, he had all beautiful white dancing elephants with him. All these foreign devotees, beautifully shaven up and looking like Vaikuntha men. And he looked and then he says, Avai Babu? He says, yes. The will of Bhakti Siddhanta. This is the desire of Bhakti Siddhanta. He just felt that. He says, I have inherited when we speak about Daya Bhak, the inheritance. So Prabhupada was asked, you did so much, you have achieved so many temples and so big preaching movement. He said, no, I have inherited the property of my spiritual master. This is all the property of my spiritual master. I just inherited it. So really relating to acceptance in life is the most difficult thing, because Krishna is orchestrating. Trust that, believe that, and give him a chance to prove that to you. That's why the culmination of all our philosophy comes in this Shikshastikam. Last verse, Ashisyava padaratam pinastuvam adharshana mama hata korotuva yada tata vidadadhatu lampato mat prananatas eva naparaha. You will always be my Lord, worshipable Lord. Even if you handle me, rough me by your embrace, or treat me make me broken-hearted by not appearing before me, you're always my worshipable Lord, unconditionally. Unconditionally. We spoke about this the other day. I told you about this Baba that I met in Vrindavan, and he was telling me, he summarized it very succinctly. Bhakti means no other alternatives, only Krishna. Krishna Ekashar. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed today's session. Please join us again tomorrow. Hare Krishna.